There is a kind of INFJ who has never learned to play the game, not because they could not master it. They watched it, mapped every move and understood the rules before anyone explained them. And then, quietly, they walked away from the board entirely. If you have spent your life feeling like a permanent visitor in every room you enter, belonging nowhere and somehow at peace with that, you are not broken. You are something older. You are the wanderer. The term Sigma has been claimed by corners of the internet that do not deserve it. It has been flattened into a fantasy of superiority, a justification for those who confuse coldness with strength. But there is a genuine archetype beneath the noise, and for the INFJ who recognizes it, the relief of naming can be profound. This is not about being better than others. It is about being constitutionally incapable of organizing your life around their hierarchies. The Sigma INFJ does not reject the pack out of arrogance. They simply never experience the pull that makes pack membership feel like home. Jung understood that certain souls are born with their compass pointed inward. The introvert, he wrote, is oriented toward the inner world, toward the subjective experience that others cannot see. But within introversion there are gradations, and the Sigma INFJ represents something at the far edge of this orientation. They are not simply introverted. They are self-referencing in a way that makes external validation feel like a foreign currency. They can appreciate it when it comes. They simply cannot organize their lives around earning it. This creates a particular kind of existence. You move through the world as an observer who has somehow also been cast in the play. You participate, you contribute, you even connect. But there is always a part of you watching from a distance, noting the patterns, aware of the performance. This is not dissociation. It is the natural state of someone whose center of gravity lives inside, rather than in the social field. You are not detached from life. You are anchored somewhere others cannot see. The wanderer archetype appears across every mythology because it names an essential aspect of the human journey. Odin wandered the 9 worlds seeking wisdom, sacrificing his eye at Mimir's well for knowledge that would cost him his comfort. The Buddha left his palace and walked for years before sitting beneath the Bodhi tree. In fairy tales, the third son always leaves home, while his brothers stay to inherit. He wanders into the forest, into the unknown, into the territory where maps end and transformation begins. The Sigma INFJ carries this archetype not as a phase but as a permanent orientation. They are always in some sense mid-journey, even when they are still. What does this actually feel like from the inside? It feels like watching others climb ladders that seem to lead nowhere you want to go. It feels like genuine puzzlement at the energy people spend positioning themselves in hierarchies that dissolve with a single job change or a move to a new city. It feels like the recurring recognition that you have never actually wanted what you were told to want. Not the corner office, not the leadership title, not the social status that comes from being at the center of the room. You wanted something else, something harder to name, perhaps depth, perhaps authenticity, perhaps simply the freedom to be genuinely yourself without constantly translating for others. The Sigma INFJ often discovers their nature through exhaustion. They spend years trying to fit the templates. They pursue the career path. They attend the gatherings. They build the networks. And then one day they stop, not dramatically, not with announcement or declaration. They simply stop performing membership in systems that never fed them. This is not burnout in the conventional sense. It is the moment when the mask becomes too heavy to wear for one more day. It is the body and soul refusing to continue a pretense that costs more than it returns. This is where the Hermit archetype illuminates what is happening. The Hermit in the tarot stands alone on a mountain, holding a lantern. This image has been misread as mere isolation. But look closer. The Hermit is not hiding. They have climbed to a height where they can see what those in the valley cannot. Their lantern is not for themselves. It is for those who are seeking them out, who will climb the mountain when they are ready for what the Hermit knows. The Sigma INFJ is not withdrawing from humanity, they are withdrawing from the noise to hear something essential. And what they discover in that silence becomes the gift they carry back. But here is what most people never understand about this archetype. The wanderer's journey is not a straight line toward a destination. It is a spiral, returning again and again to the same territories at different depths. The Sigma INFJ does not solve their restlessness by finding the right place or the right people. They learn to stop waiting for external circumstances to grant them peace. This is a profound shift. It moves the center of stability from the world outside to the ground within. You stop asking, "Where do I belong?" and begin understanding that belonging is something you carry, not something you find. The shadow side of this archetype is real and must be named. There is a version of Sigma energy that is not wisdom but wound. It looks like the same withdrawal, the same independence, the same refusal to play hierarchical games, but beneath it is not freedom. It is fear. Fear of rejection preempted by rejection of others. Fear of vulnerability disguised as self-sufficiency. Fear of being seen disguised as having no need to be seen. The Sigma INFJ must be ruthlessly honest with themselves about which energy is operating. Are you wandering towards something or fleeing from something? Are you alone by choice or by the walls you have built without noticing? These questions are not comfortable. They are necessary. Jung wrote about the difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is the chosen withdrawal that allows the inner work to happen. Isolation is the prison of the self, where the walls were built from fear and maintained by the lie that they are preference. The Sigma INFJ has access to genuine solitude in ways many people never will. They can go deep inside themselves and find treasures there. But they also have access to the shadow of isolation, where solitude becomes a hiding place from the vulnerability of genuine connection. The work of individuation requires distinguishing between these two states. It requires choosing solitude from a place of fullness rather than fleeing to it from a place of wound. There is a particular loneliness that belongs to the wanderer. It is not the loneliness of the excluded who long to be inside the circle. It is the loneliness of the one who can see the circle from above, who understands its patterns, who could join it if they chose, and who knows in their deepest self that joining would require becoming someone they are not. This is structural loneliness. It does not arise from circumstances that could be changed. It arises from the architecture of your being. The Sigma INFJ who makes peace with this loneliness has done something profound. They have stopped waiting for the world to become a place where they fit. They have started building a life around who they actually are. This building looks different from conventional success. The Sigma INFJ often constructs an existence that makes no sense from the outside. They take the unconventional path. They prioritize depth over breadth. They may earn less, achieve less by standard metrics, and accumulate fewer of the markers that society uses to measure worth. And they are often more at peace than those who have everything the world says should make them happy. This is because they have found something that cannot be taken away. They have found themselves, not the self that performs for others, not the self that was shaped by expectations, but the self that remains when all pretense falls away. The wanderer within is not just a description of how you move through the outer world. It is also a description of your relationship to your own psyche. The Sigma INFJ constantly wanders their inner landscape. They explore the forests of their unconscious. They descend into the caves where shadow lives. They climb the mountains where perspective becomes possible. This inner wandering is not aimless. It is the work of individuation that Jung described as the purpose of human life. To become who you truly are, to integrate the fragments, to bring the disowned parts home. The Sigma INFJ is uniquely suited for this work because they have already made the fundamental move. They have already turned inward. They already know that the most important territory is the one that others cannot map. But the inner wandering can become its own trap. There is a point where introspection becomes rumination, where self-exploration becomes self-obsession, where the inner journey becomes an excuse to avoid the challenges of the outer one. The Sigma INFJ must guard against the seduction of perpetual interiority. The mountain is not meant to be lived on forever. The hermit carries a lantern because eventually someone will come seeking. The wisdom gathered in solitude is meant to be shared and not imposed, not broadcast, not performed, but offered to those who are ready for it. The wanderer's journey is not complete until they return. This is the paradox at the heart of the Sigma INFJ's existence. They are built for solitude yet carry something the world needs. They are self-sufficient, yet their gifts require connection to be realized. They can function entirely alone, yet their deepest fulfillment comes from genuine meeting with others who can see them. This paradox is not a problem to be solved. It is a tension to be held. The Sigma INFJ who learns to hold it well discovers something remarkable. They can be fully themselves and fully connected. They can wander and belong. They can be the outsider who is also, in the ways that matter, profoundly inside. The exile archetype weaves through the Sigma INFJ's story in complex ways. Every mythology contains the figure who is cast out or who chooses to leave. Odysseus wandered for 10 years trying to return home. But when he finally reached Ithaca, he discovered that home had changed, and so had he. The Sigma INFJ knows this story in their bones. They often feel they have been wandering toward a home that may not exist, a place where they would finally fit, finally be understood, and finally be able to rest. The mature Sigma INFJ realizes that this home is not a place. It is a state of being. It is the moment when you stop seeking external belonging and begin generating it from within. There is something the Sigma INFJ offers the world that cannot be offered by those who are embedded in hierarchies. It is perspective. When you are not invested in climbing, you can see the game for what it is. When you are not desperate for approval, you can speak truths that others dare not speak. When you have made peace with being outside, you can offer sanctuary to others who are beginning to feel the edges of their own cages. The Sigma INFJ often becomes, without intending it, a permission structure. Others look at them and think, perhaps it is possible to live differently. Perhaps the script I was given is not the only one. Perhaps there is freedom on the other side of conformity. This is the gift of the wanderer. Not answers but permission. Not a destination but companionship on the path. The Sigma INFJ who has done their inner work becomes a lantern for others who are just beginning to question. They do not lead because the wanderer has no interest in followers. They simply walk their path visibly enough that others can see it is possible. This is a form of service that requires no sacrifice of self. It is a service that emerges from authenticity. By being fully who you are, you permit others to be fully who they are. If this video has named something you have carried without language, I would love to hear which part resonated most deeply. Tell me in the comments where you are on your own wandering, what you have found in the solitude, what you are still seeking. And if you want to continue exploring what it means to be an INFJ who walks the less travelled path, subscribe. This channel is a meeting place for those who have always been wanderers. You are not lost. You are simply taking the long way home.